Hi, I'm Rebecca Foote from the Rebecca Foote Mortgage Team, and today we're going to talk about supply and demand in the housing market. Now, the number one law in economics is supply and demand, and there's no better example of that than the housing market. Is there anything that could spoil that dynamic? Would a bunch of new inventory on the market change it? We know that buyer demand is starting to slow right now due to higher interest rates and higher home prices, certainly. But there's been such a shortage in housing. Is there enough to stem demand to reverse the course? Let's take a look at some examples. So I'm going to share my computer slides with you here. Okay. So first thing we need to do is talk about demand. The way you look at demand is by looking at household formations. Now, what is a household formation? These are people that are buying a new home, but they do not currently have a home to sell. So they're going to go occupy a new property, and then they're going to absorb from the current housing supply. So think of a child leaving mom and dad's house, they would be in this category. Or maybe a divorce situation where you're just splitting off of from somebody and now you go from one house to two houses, that's a new household formation. Now, in the US right now, there is 1.4 million households being formed every year. And to give you an idea, that is above the average of household formations. Now, the next thing you got to look at is supply. So when we look at supply, it cannot be from existing individuals because when they sell their home, they need to go and purchase a new home for the most part. So supplies really is going to come from new construction. So let's take a look at that. What we really care about is what's called housing starts. So how many houses are being built? And then you also have to remember every year there's going to be destroyed homes. That's things like fire, or maybe it was a tear down, or just some type of inhabitable house that you cannot use anymore. We lose about 100,000 homes every year for that. So when you net that out, it's about 1.6 million new homes. And then what we care about is the demand with it. As we said, it's 1.4 million household formations. So that would give you a surplus of 200,000, right? Not quite. You have to remember housing starts as a shovel in the ground, and you can't live in that, right? So, what we really want to look at is housing starts completed. Now, due to recent supply chain issues, the chip issues, labor shortages, household completions are actually about 1.3 million per year. Don't forget, take out that $100,000 for destroyed annually. Our new supply is 1.2 million, but we have households forming at 1.4 million. That means we're actually in a deficit of 200,000 homes. So supply is actually getting worse, not better. And even if this was to reverse and you would have $200,000 surplus instead of a $200,000 deficit, it would take us years to get out of this because we are so far in the hole right now that it's just going to take us time to grow out of it. Now, the next thing we care about is inventory. More homes are coming on the market. We hear about this every single year. So if you look at 2018, 19, 2020, 2021, 2022, and you can see these new houses coming on the market. Think back to when your child was, or when you were in school and a new family moved into the area. Typically you had those new families move in at the beginning of the school year because if they moved in mid-school year, friendships were already formed. So it was a lot harder for those children to make friendships. Parents are cognizant of that and they want to have their children in school for school to start in the fall. So because of that, they need to settle in the summer before school starts and they're probably shopping in the spring. That is why it's called spring buying season. But here's the interesting part. We see that there is a million homes for sale, but what's Counting in that inventory is homes that are under contract. So just because there's 1 million homes listed right now, we have to remember that that's including homes that are under contract. Right now, 60% of our homes nationally are under contract. So that's about 600,000. That only leaves about 400,000 of listings available. Now, with a country of 330 million people and 130 million households, 400,000 homes is pretty slim pickings for you. And to put that in context, this is a look at active listings. So going back here to June of 2016, where by the way, we had 75% of the homes on the market were available, goes all the way down to current market of 2022, where we only have 40% of the homes on the market. 40% of that 400,000 or of that million, which takes it to 400,000, you can see that's actually very, very low inventory. Now, just a couple months ago, we had the lowest inventory ever listed. Now, we did get a $33,000 increase recently for spring market, but that's really not that much inventory to put on the market. And you have to realize that while we got a little bit of inventory, it's just not enough to really change it. So also remember these are national numbers and it may vary for different areas around the country. We get that. But while demand is starting to slow down due to the higher prices and the higher interest rates, there's still enough activity to support these home prices. So while the increase in home prices may not quite be there as gigantic as they were, and we actually don't want that, our economy cannot sustain those large price increases, you're not going to see homes drop in value either on a year-over-year basis. Now, you may see some listings have price reductions from sellers that listed them a little too high, but that's normal, but you're not going to see home prices go down. And the other reason you're not going to see home prices go down is because of vacancies. Now, think back to if you had to carry two houses. If you bought a new house and you didn't sell your old house, you had to carry two mortgages, two sets of taxes, maintenance on two houses. You had to mow the grass on two houses. It could add up to a couple $1,000s a month depending on your bills. Now, in 2006, you can see vacancy rates were around 3%. So, because of the way the market was then and people paying all those large bills, they were very quick to do price reductions to get rid of their extra homes that they had. Now, vacancy rates here are less than 1%. We're at all-time lows for vacancies. People are not in, they don't need to do price reductions to sell homes. We're just not in that market. So overall, it looks like the housing market is still extremely strong and it's going to remain very healthy. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I'm Rebecca Foote with the Rebecca Foote Mortgage Team. Have a great rest of your day.